Hi, everyone, and welcome to our panel today. My name is Lindy Delight. I am an event manager. I've been working in the industry for about 13 years now, mostly working in branded events for music labels such as DJ Tennis's Life and Death brand, Radio Slaves Records Nights, in addition to programming boutique festivals around the world, really. So I want to thank IMS for having us today and discussing this very important and relevant topic of curating balanced lineups. We left this quite open so we can discuss what a balanced lineup really is, how we can find a solution and take steps to making balanced lineups. So before I get more into this topic, I would like for my esteemed speakers here to introduce themselves. So I'll hand it over to Mika.
Hi, Michael from Barcelona. I am the head of bookings for Sonar Festival. I've been doing this for 20 years now, and I also supervise all the bookings for all the sonars we do around the world. We've started to do these smaller events around the world since about 15 years ago, and that's it, basically.
Hi, I'm Mariana, and I'm the co-founder of Village Underground Lisboa, which is started as a co-working space, but now it's more a cultural space, a venue. It also has a restaurant, and we program a lot of parties. And before that, I also had my management agency in 2 years in London, and that's it.
Hi, I'm Shino Parker. I'm the Events and Communications Manager at the Association for Electronic Music, AFEM, and I'm also the co-chair for the Diversity and Inclusion Working Group at AFEM.
Hi, I'm Sarah Chavla. I'm from the UK, but based in New Delhi, India, and I'm co-founder of events agency Wild City and Magnetic Fields Festival.
Hi, hello. I'm Mariana Sanchotain. I'm since last October director of the Amsterdam Dance Event, a conference and a festival on electronic music taking place in Amsterdam every year.
Perfect. So I just want to get a feel of the room at the moment. Can I get a raise of hands and just let me know which of you are artists? Okay, and which of you work in programming and curating conferences and events? And how many of you are booking agents or managers? All right, and how many of you are a consumer and interested in the topic? All right, okay, perfect. So I would like to start off by how much is the curation of diverse lineups affected by the social, regional, and cultural factors? I'd like to start off with Sarah, as you're living in India. So.
I guess we started really kind of self-examining what we were doing in terms of like how our lineups were diverse, like maybe like in 2016, and kind of really address what we were doing in terms of our events with Wild City and how we were kind of representing diverse lineups with magnetic fields. And while we're starting this conversation like internally with gender, and we're looking at how to kind of create more balance in terms of male-female bookings, but it would be easy for us to just kind of book 50% international female artists, but then that's not really kind of addressing any like local issues. So we've spent the last 3 years working on a lot of like grassroots initiatives where we're trying to create as many opportunities for women to engage in the music industry as DJs or producers through workshops and content. Another issue that we're trying to address is, like how do we also make our lineups like regionally inclusive, because most of the artists that are booked in the domestic artists that are booked at Indian festivals are generally from maybe like the 3 main cities. So we're also looking at, okay, how do we support and engage with artists from smaller states and smaller cities, and if that's not possible, how do we kind of create like grassroots strategies to engage with them, which is kind of what we do with content through the wildcity.com. So And then, you know, we're looking at what about indigenous music? Like, how do we
Right.
kind of address those needs? So it's kind of like you just end up in this spiral, but it's really, I mean, yeah, it's pretty amazing once you go start that journey.
Yeah, perfect. And Mariana, what about you over in Lisbon?
In Lisbon, well, in Village Underground, there's a broader problem with programming, which is kind of a financial problem. So we have to, because it's a private company, it's we don't have the resources to book bigger names, and that's not also our focus. Our focus is to try to help more local and more younger talent. And so within that, we try to as diverse as we can and balanced as we can. I personally do the programming, and I try to book talent and be, if it's female or male, but of course as a woman I try to book as much female as I can, because I think I have that mission. It's part of my responsibility to showcase more female, and sometimes it's just it's not, maybe it's not that easy, but if you look and if you not get lazy in terms of searching and looking for women, you'll be able to book talented women, and that's part of our mission. It's to showcase them.
Perfect. Overall, though, but does a balanced lineup really mean a male-female balance? Like, how do we put in the ethnic backgrounds or the LGBTQ community in your programming of conferences and events? Mariana.
As a cultural foundation, this is also some of the big requirements from the government, from the city, that we have a program that actually fits the entire society. It should not be inclusive. It has to be inclusive. It should not leave anyone feeling outside. Right. And that's a big goal. So it's just not the gender balance, but everyone. It should fulfill. And how do you manage to do that? That the conference has this shape, the festival has its shape, but also the audience coming also
right.
is from everyone. And for us is a high priority. Yes, we want to tackle more inclusion these year. Yes.
Over at ADE, do you have quotas?
We aim at 50-50 for the conference, which is something we book ourselves. The festival, we choose which venues will make part, but then the promoter are doing the bookings, and with these promoters we talk to them, but they decide on it. So we don't have full control of what comes on the clubs. The other point for us is also the musical diversity, so that you have the whole spectrum of electronic music represented, also including urban music as part of it, and that there is space for new talent. So that's also not just the big names, but that there is still a moment of showcasing the artists that are trying to break.
Right. All right, as we are progressing through this balanced lineup campaign, like how are some of your organizations and teams evolving with this movement? Mika, I know you've been with Sonar for 19 years. Like, how have things progressed, and how is your team
in our
with
case,
the change?
I think we are like in a easy, comfortable situation where we have built an audience all these years. I think in our case, the concept, the project was born geographically in Barcelona. Nothing was happening at that time, 26 years ago. And I think it was like the vision of three guys, and how it was born, it was like global since the very first day. And I think global means including a lot of countries and, of course, different genders. So it has been a very natural and organic process all along the way, and we don't really think about this when we program. I think also after all these years, I think it's different when you start. Now, after 25 years, you have your audience, you have educated your audience, the audience expects some stuff, so it's a natural process, and we end up doing what the audience expect, and the audience expects us to do what we can call a balanced lineup, which we don't know what it is exactly, but at least that it's something that considers different people from different countries, and of course men and women.
All right. And Shino, how about you? How about yourself? How are the teams and organizations you're working with adapting to this new goal of equality and balanced lineups?
So in terms of live, AFEM wanted to figure out a way to talk to promoters about inclusivity, but without dictating quotas and antagonizing misogynists as well, I guess. And the outcome was a balanced rider. The rider kind of talks progressively about building towards balance in gender, ethnicity, ability, for example. And we are currently talking to 2 of the largest agencies in the world to see if they will help us implement this towards the end of the year. We realised that actually speaking to the agents, for example, would be better. They hold the power rather than asking an artist who may not feel quite as comfortable having a clause in their rider saying, I won't play unless it's this. But if it comes from an agent, I think we're in a much better position.
So you just mentioned a rider that you're creating.
Yeah.
Can you give me a bit of an overview of what this would entail, what this consists of?
Well, it will just basically consist of asking promoters to try to achieve balance.
Okay.
We choose the word balance because 50-50 isn't always possible in the situation. Yeah. Some genres, there are not enough artists to actually fulfill a 50-50 lineup, for example. So,
and 50-50 again being the male-female balance.
Male-female, even sometimes across ethnicity, etc., or ability. So balance is just, we want people to show that they are trying to achieve this in every way that they can. We're not going to tell people that, we're not going to, so-and-so won't play for you if they've done everything that they can to do it. So it's just working with people and getting them to sign up to this, really.
I have a question overall for everybody. There's always a root of a lot of these situations. For example, I've been speaking to many label owners, and they say through about 100 demos that they receive, maybe 1 or 2 of them come from women. So do you think we should also be implementing some sort of solution where we're offering more training or more accessibility to software, hardware, et cetera, so we're getting to the root of the problem and really training a lot more of these women or people that come from underprivileged backgrounds to be developing their skills so we create more equality in that way from the ground up? This question's for anyone.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we've kind of really tried to address in India. The first question when we realized, okay, we need to work towards more balanced lineups was, okay, so what do women actually want to learn? We're just assuming that there are loads of women who want to DJ or make music. So, or, maybe they want to spend more time focusing on sound engineering so we started sending out surveys, and I think the first survey was just a very preliminary, are you, for women, are you interested in engaging with the music industry? If so, what skills do you want to learn, and what obstacles and barriers have you faced? And I got about, I think I got about 300 responses in about 10 days just through our online platform, and that kind of formed the baseline of a lot of skills development workshops that we've been doing over the last few years.
That's great.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just been a constant kind of process of getting feedback, getting data, using that data to kind of inform the types of skills that we kind of hold workshops for. And I mean, what's been really interesting that in addition to hard skills, we always couple hard skills with soft skills. So in addition to, DJing, we're also doing workshops with lawyers about your legal rights in the nightlife context, and things that are more kind of confidence building and more empowering, as alongside the kind of sound engineering 101 or whatever. Mm-hmm. And that's been really great.
And Mika, another question for you. So when you are programming your events for Sonar, I know you do it in Barcelona, but also through the events throughout the world. What is your strategy in creating a lineup that's balanced with, the racial background as well and other communities?
There is no strategy. It's just about conversations with our partners. Well, for Barcelona, our internal conversations, and then with our partners, different conversations about music. I think thanks to the fact that we've been doing all these events since quite a long time around the world, when you travel, you meet people, and then these people become friends and musical friends, and we have these kind of friends, we call it sometimes special agents in different parts of the world, who constantly send you music from their part of the world, and this feeds us a lot. So for Barcelona, we use that quite a lot. Of course, there's the most obvious part where because we've been growing a lot as a festival, we need to fill in big spaces, and there's this headliner part of the job, which is not the most exciting part of the job, but luckily then there's the whole other world that is more fun. And for this, we just listen to music and receive ideas and feedbacks from people we've met all these years, from Brazil or from Japan or from wherever, and it starts to build up organically. It's like a jigsaw, and one thing led to the other, and there's never like a pre-plan, really.
Right. Let's go with the flow. Yeah. So at the bottom line, promoters and conference organizers, they need to sell tickets. So how do we balance the programming, the lesser known artists with the names? Mariana.
The promoter, I think the connection your public has with your event by coming to see a big name is nice, is interesting, it's the experience you remember. But the connection you build the moment you get your public to learn about a new artist, to discover the discovery of new music is very special. So that one festival you went and then you not knowing where you're going to check, and suddenly there is like really amazing set. That builds a trust. That also for the promoter is interesting, because you might want to connect with your audience, with your public, by the trust they have on you of bringing in new music, of bringing in new talent, and showcasing what's next. And a good booker will know it. They know, and they know the talent. They can get that on. So I think it's a winning strategy to know how to build and to know how to promote, and your endorsement is what will sell the ticket. So hopefully people manage to get that way, and not just looking in on numbers and social media numbers and DJ listing numbers. It's not, that's the easy way. I think the true talent is really making the combination of your lineup is also very key. It needs to build up in the night.
Absolutely.
The artistic fit doesn't really, don't think as a marketeer, but think of the connection of having the right combination of music in one night and making it special.
Right.
It's bigger than just marketing or
Absolutely,
sales.
absolutely. And the other Mariana, when you're curating events on a weekly basis, say in your monthly program, how are you balancing the lesser known with the more known acts to ensure that you have this equality with your programming, and also developing new and up and coming artists?
Yeah, so we work with a lot of local promoters that they do their own parties in village. So sometimes it's us choosing the artists, but most of the times are the promoters, and we get to choose the promoters to work with in a quite broad range of music. So we can work from reggae to funk to house, mostly techno. And we trust the promoters to do their lineups. And sometimes, yeah, it has to be... mostly of our events are free, so we also have to be, we have to pay attention to the costs we spend at the party, because it's a free entrance, and we cannot go to bigger names, as I said before, but either we trust the promoters and we build a relationship with them that we know that the party is going to be good in terms of talent and crowd, or when it's us to program, we also trust, as you said, the musical friends you do, like people you trust. Like for instance, we did parties with Resident Advisor, where they were based in Lisbon, and we trust that they also give us good tips, especially really good tips in terms of newcomers, that we really like to host that kind of parties. And yeah, it's always a balance, and that you have to keep in mind.
It's again a question also of being a little bit global, and then if you have global feeds or global sources, then automatically the result will be diverse, I think.
Right. And how important do you think it is for the average ticket consumer on how diverse a lineup is? Shino.
In terms of live events, I think it depends very much on the person. For me, it's very important, especially actually conference speaker lineups. If I'm going to a conference and the entire lineup is white male, I'm not very interested in going. I think a conference lineup is so important that you have people from cultural background differences, gender differences, ethnicity, everything, because we all bring something different to the table. If you're going to a festival techno lineup, I'm not sure how, on average, that does affect ticket sales, because we see a lot of lineups which are very male orientated and they still sell out. So I don't know, it would be more interesting to hear if it impacts ticket sales to the promoters, I guess.
So for Sonar.
Well, in our case, the festival started as an electronic music festival, but now I think it's a bit more than that. And I think it's also what you have built in terms of what the audience expectation is, and I think also that there's a need for diversity, and I would not necessarily be against festivals whose personality is a certain type of techno, or and then the audience of those festivals, well, they might not expect necessarily that the festival lineup needs to be like a 50-50, or we see that there's some examples. So it depends on the personality of the event, and what the audience wants and expects, and what you've built.
Right. I guess it all also depends on the region. You know, sometimes there's a festival, and no matter who you do program, people are going to be attending because it might be the only thing that happens in that city. So there isn't as much challenge to keep it diverse. Whereas if you're in a place like London or Berlin, where there's events happening constantly, this is where you're able to really challenge yourself as a programmer to start doing things that are a lot more interesting and forward thinking. Yeah. Right. So this is a question that's a little more in the social media aspect of it. Like, how do you find, what do you think about some of these artists that are more of these, I guess, keyboard heroes online, talking about these social injustices more to promote their own careers, but not really getting into the activism actively? What do you think about this? This is for anybody.
I think I don't know. I think the social media thing is good and bad things. I think it's for some DJs, artists who are excellent artists or DJs, whatever. Now they are also need to be funny or relevant or in their public profiles in social medias, and you see some of them are good at that, some of them are better or worse, but completely regardless to their artistic talent. So it's a bit weird. I mean, it's a marketing tool, very useful, probably less expensive than the old marketing budgets that artists had to pay to promote themselves. But yeah, I think it has to be taken carefully, because then where's the artistic thing? If it's all about you being funny or being super engaging with your audience in Instagram.
Right. One thing that I notice a lot when I'm programming my events is there is quite a big hype machine in our industry at the moment, where artists, not even necessarily women, are getting quite famous out of their the promotion behind them or their social media, etc., and they start blowing up very quickly. And in this process, they become extremely hard to book, or they become maybe definitely quite expensive. Do you guys have any issues with this, finding, like, really enjoying an artist, seeing that they're up and coming and wanting to support them, but then seeing that they just get so in demand that they're really hard to access? Maybe.
I mean, yeah, it's unsustainable for small festivals like us to be able to engage with artists like that. I mean, anyway, it's we're based in India. Like expenses, like flights and stuff, add to all the fees, and it just it also, I mean, not only is it unsustainable for us, but I don't think it really sends a very positive message to aspiring producers and musicians who look at the marketing machine behind these successful artists and go into the industry thinking that they have to have a manager, have to have an agent, have to have this, and kind of give up on this kind of whole DIY ethic. But I mean, there is a problem, I guess, where you have like the same 30 DJs on whatever spectrum, whether it's like the super DJ or
they're playing everywhere all the time.
Like whatever level you're booking, there is this kind of repetitiveness to some extent with like, okay, this is my kind of booking spectrum, and these are the artists that everyone else is booking who I kind of like look up to or see myself similar to, and you do kind of, I don't know, yeah, it's just like, it's not sustainable. It's really, I feel like it's a bubble that's possibly going to pop soon. But I guess it also, just pushes you to be more creative and be more kind of like focus on your brand as a festival or as an event, rather than your lineup.
And how do we avoid this? Because I think that some of these festivals, I can't speak for all of them, definitely not, but a lot of these festivals do have a programmer that's programming multiple festivals. So in this, they end up programming similar artists across the board. I find that maybe a solution could be that the decision makers behind the scenes, the people that are pitching artists and making the decisions of these programs, the programming could also be more diverse as well, making sure you have people that are a more ethnic background on your team, or people that are maybe from the LGBT community that are also involved. This way you're grabbing more demographic, you're reaching more pockets of people that maybe you might not be able to access on a regular basis. What are your thoughts on this, Ariane? Sorry, Mariana.
We believe that should be the diversity comes from if you don't know the scene, then you won't know how to book it, and how you don't know how to speak to them. On a marketing way, what we're looking into is to have to talk to different, then again, the influencers from the different spectrum of the society. And have them kind of curating or giving their view of the program, to say, because the program is quite wide, that's a lot, so there is hopefully something for everyone, but not necessarily that the people know what's going on, so that they kind of pinpoint what will be, and have them engaging with the platform, and having them talking about, and helping them to shine a light on who else is there within the communities, within the new collectives, and yeah, it is an organic, I think it's an organic process that kind of when everybody has that aim, when there is a kind of consciousness, okay, this is the objective, we will get much further, yeah.
Yeah, the more conversation we have, the quicker and we can move forward and, of course, work together on solutions. Are there any solutions that you guys have for creating lineups for the future? Mika?
No, because I think there's not really a problem. I think each event, festival, or venue programmer has to follow a little bit his personality and what they want to create. So there is not really like a solution. Like it's as diverse as geographically or depending on the venue, or if you are a small, middle, or big size festival, you have to adapt. But I don't see any particular or precise solution.
In terms of conferences and their speaker lineups, I think a solution is, one of the solutions would be, one of the consistent pieces of feedback that we get, and Mariana said to me yesterday, was not that there aren't, say, for example, female speakers available, but they don't always confirm, and a lot of the time people don't have the confidence or the skills to actually accept a speaker role. So I think a solution is definitely something that we're working on, is providing resources so that you can give people crib sheets. Say, if you've never spoken before, here are some tips. If you've never moderated before, this is what you need to do. And also work with conferences to ensure that they're passing that information through, because it's so nerve-wracking. And as a woman, first time being asked to speak, I was petrified. I still am, but I've done it a few times. And I think providing that information will definitely help towards a solution of creating diverse speaker lineups.
That's a really great idea. When I'm in Berlin, I'm the Berlin event director for shesaid.so events as well, and I also curate panels in Berlin. And there is definitely a lot of fear when it comes to coming to speak on a lineup. Yeah. So I think this would definitely benefit people, women, anyone in general, to have a bit of guidelines to bring them out in the open, because there's just so much knowledge, there's a wealth of knowledge out there that needs to be shared.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really. Well, I'd like to open this up to the room and see if there's any questions for any of our panelists. Yes, we have a lady just over. Oh, she's going to pass you a microphone.
Hi, my name is Holly Reed. I don't really have a title. I do freelance writing, and I'm a DJ agent and a promoter. I just find this whole balanced lineup thing quite confusing, because if you're an elite athlete or whatever, you just get judged based on your skill. So as a promoter myself, I find it doesn't even come into my psyche. I don't think about, should I get more girls? Should I get more gays? Should I get more, I really don't know why we even discuss it, because we're human, we all have skills. And when we say things like, I'm a woman, so I was a bit nervous in the room when I spoke, I don't know why that's even a thing. I feel like it's great that we're talking about it. Of course it is, because it needs to be talked about, because it's obviously a problem for some people. But because we keep on talking about it, it's almost like we're highlighting it's a problem, and it's not actually a problem. I mean, I've been doing this for 5 years. I appreciate that's not a long time, but I've been a woman for 35, and I just feel like I'm a person, I'm a human, I'm a talented musician. It shouldn't make a difference what's going on down there or how I am. That's how I feel, and I feel like we're having all these talks about it, but actually, let's just get on with it.
I think
Sorry if that's controversial.
No, I think.
No, thank you. Thank you for the question.
I think it's great that that's your personal experience, but I've spoken to hundreds of women who've had very different experiences, and I think from an entry level all the way up to on every single level, I've had very different things, and I think it's fabulous that we have got lots of women who have very positive experiences engaged with the music industry, but there are lots of men and women who have very negative experiences. And I think, in my experience, just kind of having these conversations, challenging each other, it's all moving towards a space where, we are able to just kind of, be very frank about it. But Yeah, that's just my experience. But yeah, there are lots of women who don't have any, who've worked in the music industry for 20 years and have never had any issues because they're surrounded by amazing men and women. But there are so many people who have terrible experiences, and yeah.
Yeah, I think I acknowledge the fact that we are all human beings and we all have our talent and skill, but what we are talking here, it's about opportunities of showcasing your skill. And we all know that in this industry there's more opportunities for men than for women, as in other industries, but we are talking about the electronic music, so it's up to us to just be involved with shesaid.so people and everyone who they actually write, they have this annual report on 100 alternative women in the music industry that no one is talking about because you have all the other charts that are controlled by men. So it's just a matter of talking about it, but actually we are the ones who are also making some solutions, and I bet you will be able to also contribute with solutions. It's not skill. We know every woman has their skills and men. It's about opportunity to showcase and to be part of this, because we know there's a lot of women who are afraid and cannot show their skills because there's no opportunity for them. It's just that.
Yeah. And I would like to say on a positive note that also I think compared to other industries or sectors or whatever, we're not doing that bad. And I don't know, if we were talking about metal music, we would not be seated here talking about balanced lineups. I think, but as you said, it's about opportunities. I think it's good to talk about it, not in an aggressive way, or but it's just good to share experiences.
In a way, I think what bothers you, and sometimes bothers me, is the feeling that's been patronized, and that I hope we come to a moment that doesn't have the feeling, that shouldn't be a question, that is just natural, and I think this will come soon. I hope so.
Perfect. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. I know we're out of time. I'm really sorry. Oh, okay. Yeah, just really, really quickly though.
Hi, I'm Ana Raisa from Functional Media and Data Transmission. Now that you mentioned patronizing, do you think you can find out a way where we can draw a line between acceptance and positive discrimination?
Sorry, what was the first part of this question?
As in, if we can find a way to find the thin line between acceptance, like we're accepting women or different people in the lineups, and positive discrimination, like when they're patronizing you.
Me personally, I don't know how to answer this question. I don't know if I understand the question properly. And anyone else want to take this over?
Are you asking, like, what's the difference between kind of booking women for the sake of booking women versus booking women because based on their merit? Is that, yeah, I mean, I don't think, like for us, like we book women on our lineup that, you know, we think are amazing, just as we book the men on the lineup that we think are amazing. And what we're trying to do is, like, rather than like tokenism, look at like what the root issues are and try and address those at a ground level. And I think that's like what a lot of people who are kind of not doing it in a tokenistic way are kind of doing.
All right, so thank you. So we are out of time. I appreciate you coming to check out the panel, and thanks to all the panelists, and thanks to IMS. And she said so.